morning from the dashboard of my big rig. Come on. Just out making, gonna go pick up a load of chemicals and take it somewhere else and unload it. Fun. Till the daddy takes a T-bird away. Anyway, I was thinking about the difference between people and how they perceive prophecy. And some people see prophecy as a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Most people, I think, do. They think, well, maybe it's just coincidence, or maybe this or that, or and they only want to see the science side of things, and the likelihood as far as if science says that, thinking of world catastrophes and economic crashes and things like that. Well, right now we're at a place right now in the world and in life where they're both coming together. Prophecy is saying that some bad things are going to happen, come down the chute our way, and science is saying the same thing. They're saying some bad things are going to happen coming down the chute our way. So everything is lining up right now, and nothing is saying to us that this isn't going to happen. It's just going to pass and we're going to be unaffected. What we really don't know is the magnitude of it. We hear these prophecies, these prophets of doom. We hear the news, and it's gloom and doom, and we gotta wonder, is it really gonna be that bad? Is it gonna be that bad? Are we just, and that's just kind of, maybe it's a general over theme for everybody, and we're just gonna ride it out like everything else in life. We're still gonna go to work, we're still gonna eat, we're still gonna drive our cars. We just gotta put up with some high gas prices for a while, or maybe someone in office that we don't appreciate, or we think is crooked, or whatever it is. There's lots of things we can say there, but I want to reflect back on the Bible for a minute in regards to it all. And if you go and look at the Bible from cover to cover, what do you see in there? It says God said, God said, God said to this person, God said to that person. God, all the way from the beginning to the end, God speaks to men. God says things to them, and then He shows them things to come through dreams. There was going to be a great famine, 7 years of prosperity, and 7 years of famine. That was, in the Bible, that was through a dream God showed Joseph, and then he ended up, interpreting Pharaoh's dream. Well, I guess God showed Pharaoh, right? And then Joseph interpreted it. And so, but that wasn't the only incident. There's other times when God reveals things to people. There was the enemy camp, and their leader was like, how come, why is the God's people always knowing what I'm going to do? Well, God was showing Elijah all his plans and secrets of the enemy. That's pretty awesome. So God does speak, and He does show men things. And some would argue, well, God doesn't do that anymore. But I would have to counter-argue that and say, since when? Since when does God not do that anymore? Since we've gotten so far connected into our world and everything, that we're just less connected with God, and we can't hear Him. We get to a place and we can't hear Him. We don't have eyes to see. We don't have ears to hear. And but God hasn't changed. He still speaks to men. He still does miracles. He still heals people. He still does everything he did in the Bible. And the Bible was written over, or the whole Bible story, I guess, is a very long story, thousands of years. So a lot of these miracles, signs, and wonders, they didn't all happen in one day. It may have been a couple of years in between each one in some cases, or more. So anyway, back to the original start of this conversation was God does talk to men. And Chris Reed had a dream last March about the upcoming economic crash. I think he called it the Man in Black, because there was a man in a black suit holding a $50 bill representing the 50 states of America. And in this dream, the man ripped the $50 bill. He ripped 1/3 of the $50 bill off. And then a headline. Somebody came up, a random person bringing a newspaper headline. Chris Reed said that the headline said that that China makes deal with Middle East oil. Okay? And U.S. dollar loses value by 30%, I think it was. Well, we've pretty much already seen that happen. China is already making a deal with Saudi Arabia, and they're not using the U.S. currency. And if you look into that a little deeper, you'll find that there's a lot of other countries following suit. They are dropping the U.S. currency, and then these countries like Saudi Arabia, who are holding all of this U.S. currency, they've got a lot of our money. Well, they're going to want to get rid of it. So they're going to dump it back into the U.S., which is going to pump up the amount of bills that we have in this country, which is also going to deflate the value of the dollar. Okay, and all these trillions of stimulus packages, I don't know if you all remember when that happened not too long ago. That money was ridiculous. It went to things like gender studies in Pakistan, and everything I heard, none of it was to help America. None of it was to benefit Americans and all of us. We just we just got to ride it out, right? Because what can we do? We voted, and it was like nobody heard our vote, and or something happened there, and there's nothing we can do. And so now we're paying for all these stimulus packages, all these, trillions of dollars of money that was printed and thrown into overseas. Well, all that money is going to start coming back, because people are going to start trading in other than U.S. currency, and we don't have gold to back it up. So in Chris Reed's dream, so like I said, the man in black holding the $50 bill rips off 1/3 of the $50 bill. U.S. economy, the U.S. dollar devalues 30% or 35% or something like that. And then he takes what's left of it and he tears it in half again. And let's see if I can remember what happened in the dream, in his dream. Wheat and grain crawls to a standstill, and obviously we know it's in Ukraine. That's a lot of our wheat and grain comes from Ukraine, and so all those fields that aren't being farmed because of war are not going to be producing, obviously, and so we're not going to get that grain and that wheat from there, and so we're gonna get to a standstill on that sort of thing. Okay, and then there were some more things in his dream. I'm not sure, I don't want to misquote it, but there were some other things happening. And anyway, so now the dollar is down to 35 or 30% of its original value, because it's got 1/3 ripped off, and then half of that ripped off, and then Jerusalem makes a deal with Palestine for a two-state solution, and the dollar gets ripped into tiny little pieces, and a big earthquake happens in the United States, and it gets shredded into little pieces, and so the dollar becomes devalued to tiny little bits. America's in pieces is some of the headlines that come up to him. You should look up The Dream. It's very interesting. And we can kind of see all these things happening. So, the prophecy and the science and the financial prophets, of today are all saying the same thing. We're headed for a financial crash of the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar is going to be worthless. And who knows, the banks are going to crash, and we see a lot of crazy stuff going on. And we got BlackRock. If you've heard of BlackRock basically owns all of the houses everywhere. They own all of they buy up all the loans, and they own all the property, and somehow they're going to come in, according to the World Economic Forum, who's they're driving a lot of this stuff that we're seeing. The reason that we're having all this chaos is because of their Great Reset and the stuff they're trying to pull on us, the shenanigans. They want to have their Great Reset, and BlackRock is part of their gang. And by 2030, you'll own nothing and be happier than you've ever been. So basically, what they would do is, well, we own your house, so we're gonna sell it back you, or no, we're gonna rent you your own house, or the house that, instead of taking it from you because you owe the bank, because you don't have any money, because the U.S. dollar crashed, and now BlackRock is gonna come in and they're gonna say, well, we'll let you just stay in your house, and then you rent it from us. You pay us rent. That's kind of how they see that going. And most of us are like, oh, hell no, we ain't doing that. And so, yeah, and some of these prophetic dreams, there's civil war coming up. States are going to be rebelling against the government and seceding from the Union. I can see Florida and Texas doing that for sure, but one of the headings was more states secede from the Union. So there's more than just one or two, it sounds like, and they just don't want to be a part of that crazy governmental thing that we got going on. And well, it makes sense. Depending on which news channels you watch, there's a lot of stuff going on where they're spending our tax money and just blowing it out the windows for things that we don't really approve or support. So, good coffee, by the way. Anyway, have a great morning. Just trust in the Lord. Listen for His voice. He does still speak to men. He will speak to you. Maybe not the way you'd want to hear Him. Maybe not like this. Not a conversation that you can have quite like this. But He does still speak to men, and it's that small, still voice on the inside that you'll hear. As long as you're saved and you have Him living inside of you, you'll have that small, still voice. Sometimes you got to get to a quiet place where you can hear Him but He's saying that everything is, we're going to be okay. We're going to be fine. Just, you should prepare so that when these things do happen, you can ride the storm out a little better than, right? So somebody was saying, oh, well, you know, you go to the store, you buy a couple extra cans of food. Yeah, that's great. That's a great idea, and we try to do that, and then we eat it. We eat it come dinner time next week, because, yeah, that's, we don't have to go to the store. Not today. I hate shopping. I don't like going to the store. But, yeah, so I guess we got to buy a lot of food, stock it up, and just keep doing that. You know, hiding it from ourselves. You know, unless you just buy a lot of food you don't like. But also, you know, we've been trying to get our garden going. Getting there. It's slow going. We have a lot of clay landfill that's full of rocks, and so it's double dirty. It's got it's full of rocks. It's full of clay, and it's no fun to plant in. And if you did plant in it, it might not grow very well. So we have to amend it with fertilizers and stuff. And so we're doing raised beds as much as we can. I've been trying to, and then of course we got to keep the deer out. But we're working on that whole plan, getting that whole everything put together for that, with the fencing and the raised beds, and soon we're going to have the irrigation system, and you know, this whole big crash thing. We don't know exactly when it's going to happen. We don't know exactly how it's going to happen. We don't know exactly how it's going to affect us personally. But we're going to do our best, right? We're going to just listen to the Lord. We're going to trust in Him, and just follow His lead. And you know, the Bible says, include the Lord God in all your ways, or in everything you do, and He will make your way straight. Or, you know, I read all the different translations of that verse, or He'll take out the obstacles. But in any case, if you include Him in everything you're doing, He's going to make your way straight. He's going to straighten your path. It's all going to work out. And you just got to trust Him, because that's His word. And He doesn't lie. He never lies. He's incapable of lying. If you believe the Bible, and I do. Even if you don't believe the Bible, He's still incapable of lying. But, you know, you have to be able to have faith in His word. So if you believe the Bible and you believe His word, then that verse is going to mean something to you. And you're going to say, okay, God, look, I included you in everything I do, you know. And it could be as simple as, you know, hey, I'm going to lay this rug over here. You know, and just include the Lord with your laying the rug over there. You know, include the Lord with, you know, I'm going to go put gas in my car. So little things like that. It says include the Lord in everything you do. He'll make your way straight. So you do that, and your way will be straight. And if it isn't, if your way doesn't turn out straight, you can take that up with Him. That's His words. It says it right there. You can say, God, your word said this. And so if that's not working, did I do something wrong? Did I not quite get this right? You know, take it up with Him, because I really think he likes that. I think He likes it when you hold His word up and say, Lord, your word says this. And, how come I'm not seeing this like this? Because as far as I know, I did everything, you know, on the list here just for that. So anyway, that's my fun talk for this morning. And have a great, wonderful, and glorious weekend. It's Friday. Have a great day at work. Hopefully your work day is uneventful in the sense that it's safe and productive, and it's just kind of, you go to work, you get it done, and it's over soon. You start your weekend, then you got more work to do. Maybe if you're like me, I got a list so long. Yeah, I got a list so long, made me wish I didn't have a list so long. But yeah, as soon as my list gets any shorter, I always add more things to it. So I guess that's I do that to myself, apparently. Anyway, have a great day. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to me. Bye now.